Hi, Nivedita.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. So today we are in conversation with Nivedita, who is basically pursuing her MBA from IIM. Okay, let's wait a minute. Before I get the pronunciation wrong for your college, I would like to say that please you inform that what is the exact pronunciation of your college?
It's IIM Kozhikode.
Kozhikode. So basically people
Yes.
say Kozhikode, but it is wrong.
Yeah,
I think
yes. So the local, as per the local language, it's Kozhikode. So when we were also inducted, we were also calling it Kozhikode only, as per our knowledge. But our seniors helped us to understand that it's not Kozhikode, it's Kozhikode, basically.
okay, great. So I hope many of us did not be aware about this particular thing. I hope with this discussion, many of us would be right now knowing that it is like Kohi code, not Cozy code.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of mispronunciation there.
Okay. Nivedita, like before we go for further discussion, like please tell us something about yourself.
Certainly. So my name, firstly, I'll introduce myself as Nivedita Barui, and I was born and raised in the city of Durgapur, West Bengal, wherein I completed my 12th year, post which I had moved out to Calcutta. I did my bachelor's there. I studied microbiology honors from Scottish Church College, and thereafter, from there, for a brief stint, I was involved in my father's family business. Thereafter, I moved on to work with a startup and then with TCS in human resources. So around I worked for 4.5 years before moving on to IIM Kozhikode for an MBA. Yeah. So that is a brief about my profile overall, and about my hobbies. I love to listen to music, and I have taken up baking really late, like last lockdown only. So yeah, these two are my hobbies, I would be saying.
Okay, you just mentioned that you have moved to HR specialization and like having a degree in microbiology, how you moved to HR specialization?
Yes. So, sir, when I was in my college, let's say it was a 3 year undergraduate course. So, in my second year only, I understood that, taking the long route of a BSc, then an MSc, then a PhD, that is not something I would prefer for myself. Of course, my initial intention was to get into research, but people change their preferences, I believe. So did I. And my initial ambition during my college was to get into Indian Air Force. So I tried my luck there as well. And for 2 years, for the second and the third year, I like 2014 and 15 basically, I spent it on trying to get into Indian Air Force for the ground duty officer cadre. And I have taken the AFCAT examination both times. I scored well and like got to the next steps. I was called for an SSB at SSB Varanasi, and but then both times I was eliminated in the final conference round. So without spending any more time on that, I took a leap of faith that this is not something which can be doable by me. And from there, like with the very limited interaction that we had with the army officers, with the Air Force officers, there used to be some counseling sessions as well for people who couldn't make it to a certain level. So there, based on our traits, I was suggested that I probably would do well in a management domain. So within management, I wanted to take up HR because I sort of vibed and related with that particular domain back then. So I read some books, very basic handbooks on human resources, and started with a very entry level job within HR. And my initial role was of an HR recruiter. From there, with multiple jobs and multiple roles, learnings on the go, I ended up in TCS back in 2017. And from there on, I moved on to MBA.
Okay, it's a very interesting story. Okay. We would just love to know about your CAT journey.
At Jenny, certainly. So I started preparation for CAT 2019. That was end of February 28th, 2019. I started my preparation, and very dramatically, I had a car accident, I would say, in the beginning of Feb, so early Feb. And while in treatment and in bed rest, I understood that it's a good time to start, and that is how I contacted my mentor as well. So Pabitra Sir, he has been my mentor, and whatever I've achieved so far in terms of CAT and other management examinations are only because of him. Because CAT in the first place was never my part of the plan. My plan was to get ahead with GMAT, and I did appear for that as well, but the score was not that great that I would be able to apply to colleges. So as per his guidance, I moved ahead with CAT. And for CAT, I would say I just did whatever he had asked me to do. He made a plan for me, and since I was a working professional, it was not that easy task to follow whatever he was guiding, because the work timings, the traveling to and fro from work, and then the changing assignments, changing shifts for that matter, it was all very difficult. So what I did is, for quants and LRDI, he was my mentor. And for the verbal part, I had prepared for GMAT. So that covered for English part. And I would say I did around 2 to 3 hours every day religiously. And for weekends, as much time as I possibly could devote. That's about it. And we all did our mocks, mock sessions, mock cats early on. We started with the mocks early on, and that's about it. So after the cat scores were out, and we were starting to get, I mean, I started to get my what do you call, the letter for interview and all that. So then I started preparation for the interview. So he helped me immensely during that phase as well, to understand how the WAT, written ability test works, and what sort of preparation should be there to ace the WAT phase for all the IIMs, and then the PI round as well. So we did some mock-ups of the interviews, and we tried to gauge the areas of improvement and the strength areas as well. And that is how we made up a custom plan. That is how he does it for all his students. So yeah, that has been my CAT journey 2019.
Great. Like you mentioned that you have done such a lot of hard work for your CAT preparation. So like apart from this, I am Kozhikode, what other options you had with yourself?
I had selection offers from, apart from Kozhikode, I had from IIM Lucknow, but for Lucknow, not for the PGP program, but it was for PGP ABM and PGP SM, Sustainable Management. And then Kozhikode for PGP, then Rohtak, Ranchi for HRM, and all the other 9 baby IIMs. Also, yeah, that's about it, I believe. Yeah.
I thought something more is coming on.
Total 14 IIMs, I had selection offers from.
Great. Like we were discussing about the CAT part, so I would just ask certain tips from your side. Like suggest us like what would be the way that the new CAT aspirant should try for the CAT entrance examination, so that they can have a good scorecard and try the top tier colleges of India.
So, from whatever my experience has been, sir, I would like to say that it's good to have your basics cleared. Like when I started, I was not in touch with my quants and all that basic stuff. So I believe sir had prepped me for the basics only for the first 1 month. So I did only the basic NCRTs and all those to just lay the foundation properly, because I was not in touch. So for people who have been working for a long time, they usually face this problem if they have not been doing it sidewise. So once you have your basic strong, it's good to pick up what you call subject wise. Like you can fragment the entire quants into some fragments, and then you can pick each one of them, try to solve and see where the hiccups are. And you could try it possibly trying to solve where the problems are, and trying to understand your own strengths and areas of improvement. So all you got to do is make your strengths more strong, and whatever there are areas of improvement, make them so just fine enough so that you can pass through this phase. There should not be a hurdle. So that can be one starting point. And for working professional, I would say it's difficult to manage with the time constraints. So time management has to be a key. So for that, whatever time you get, even if you're getting 1.5 hours every day, maintain that consistency. That goes a long way in the to prefer any exam for that matter. And weekends were a little difficult, because you get all those temptations to actually go out and have some fun, because you have been doing only 2-3 things the entire week. So it is difficult to keep those temptations in boundaries as well. So having your mind under control, I think, goes a long way. So, but it's easier said than done. It's now very easy for me to just tell you on record. But for people who are doing it, I understand it's way more difficult.
Correct, correct, absolutely correct. Like, can you share us the entire your interview experience in IIM Kozhikode?
Sure, sir. So, Kozhikode interview happened at Hotel Kenilworth in Calcutta, and I was given the first slot. So I reached the venue around 7:30 in the morning, and from 8, our essay session started. My topic was if religion should be inducted in schools as a subject. So we were given 20 minutes to write on it. We wrote, post which we had to face the panel for the interviews. And I think I was the first one in my panel to go for the interview. And I met two professors from the campus. One of them I could recognize from his face because I had read about him. He's a very famous faculty member. His name is A.F. Matthews. So I didn't tell him that I have, that I know who you are, but yeah, it was nice to relate actually. And then another professor was also, he introduced himself as well. And more than an interview, I would say it was more of a discussion. I mean, wherein initial few questions tell me about yourself, how microbiology and then HR related, how the transition happened, about Indian Force, about my family business. So once we have covered all of it, the curveball that they threw at me was about the Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata incident that had happened at Tata back then. So I was asked to, critique the whole matter and tell them what I thought of it. So I told them whatever I felt back then. And then he shared his opinions as well. So it was another round of discussion, I would say. And then he asked me a few questions on the national fabric and how politics has been in the state, especially within the state of West Bengal. And that sort of completed the interview. Before that, I think some basic questions like why MBA and all of that is there. So yeah, it was more or less a very useful talk.
So how long total your interview continued for?
I think for 25 minutes, 25 to 30.
25 to 30 minutes. Okay. So like it's been too long till now you are pursuing in IIM Kozhikode. So can you just share your experience regarding the campus, everything, the studies, the live projects which they provide?
Yeah. So I would begin by saying that the campus is very beautiful. I mean, I'm sure you know that, but of course I can say that again. So it's one of the most beautiful campus across the country, and I got to spend around 6 months in campus in my first year. Not sure when I'll be going back for the second year. And for the academics part, I would say that the kind of pedagogy that we have is very case-based and experiential learning. So students are, encouraged to apply the concept that they learn in the classroom on the case studies that they are given to solve. So we also had a lot of activities which we did in small and big teams. So team player, like team building skills and all of that come into the picture. Then we have to have presentations, like you actually become very habituated with giving presentations very often, and it doesn't stay as a problem area for people who have not been acquainted with it in the past. And the very experienced faculty members and the kind of opportunities we get in terms of life projects, or let's say any opportunity for that matter for research work as well, is immense. It overall builds a person's personality and candidature for the future.
Okay. Like before we end the discussion, I would just need one more suggestion from your side. Like I've got a query from most of the students that they feel that if suppose they do not secure good score in CAT and they drop a year, so is there make any disadvantage to them to try for the tier 1 category of college?
No, in my opinion, I have a lot of batchmates who have had a few year gaps. They had taken multiple attempts to CAT, but that doesn't take anything away from the candidate. What the candidate should focus on is to build a profile that way. Like, let's say you have dropped a year, like taken a year gap. So you have to do something on the side so as to build it, so that if tomorrow when you put it on a CV, it looks good. So it has to complement your gap. The gap will not be in focus that much, But if you can substantiate it with work, that is enough, I believe. So
Like
good
suppose,
work will always be appreciated.
like in case if they do not take any work experience, but they go for any additional courses or any sort of certificates program, that will be handy for them to cover up this year gap.
To a certain extent, yes, but then again, a lot depends on how they tackle the interviews. So in my opinion, what I think is it's fine if the candidate has done some work, let's say, like you said, in certificate program or anything to substantiate that year gap. It should be, I mean, the candidate should be able to justify the gap. And overall, it depends, a lot depends on how you tackle the interviews. So if the profile is good, a certain year gap won't be a problem at all. That
Okay.
is what
Okay.
I feel.
Okay. No, it was really a good discussion with you, and we got a lot of information from your side. And I would just say that thank you very much for your valuable time, and I wish all the best for your future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great evening ahead. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.